Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session on the open source mentorship platform. And this is a motivation / behavioral session. This is not a tech solution session that we usually do. And today we have somebody really special, a dear friend of mine who has been doing some amazing work with respect to personal growth, personal development in India. He is Siddhant Chaudhary. He is the co-founder of LifePlugin, which is a pioneer in personal development, personal growth with respect to events, space in India. And they have participants from all over India and the world, actually. And we are quite fortunate to have Siddhant with us this week because just last week, they finished yet another amazing summit of LifePlugin in Goa. And what Siddhant told me was it was their biggest, grandest event yet. So I'm just now going to ask Siddhant to introduce himself a little bit and also tell us a little bit about the Goa event.
Okay. Hi, Saurabh, team, and everyone who's watching. My name is Siddhant. I am originally from the city of Chandigarh. I live out of a suitcase, which means I'm on the move for the last 7 years now, which is living the digital nomad lifestyle. I am the co-founder of LifePlugin along with my business partner Gautam Khetarpal. To tell you about LifePlugin, both of us met in 2008. We were part of a student-run organization called ISEC. I don't know how many of you heard of it, but we spent our good 5 years in college around leadership development and youth leadership. I think that just set us on this path where we found doing, events, meeting new people, getting to know stuff about ourselves very interesting. The one thing I remember from back in the day was doing these leadership discovery, workshops where you would just, answer 60 questions and you would get to know what kind of personality traits do you have and how does it help you and how does it work against you. So those kind of things stuck with us. We both went our own ways to do our corporate gigs. Gautam worked with companies like DHL in Philippines and around the world. I tried my hand with working a bunch of startups with friends in India. We both landed up at Mind Valley, which is a publishing house in personal growth, very well known all over the world. So we both ended up there because we both had a love for marketing, both had a love for personal growth. So we wanted to do something with that. We did that. We met the best authors in the world. Traveled with Mind Valley to attend some amazing events, all over. And after which we realized that we've seen pretty much the best of personal growth, and we want to bring something to India with an Indian flavor, with our own insight to an Indian audience. So that's how LifePlugin came about. I think how Gautam said it once is like all of us ISEC friends wanted to do something like this, but no one really did it. So we are one of the two who decided to do something about it and did it. So 2017 is when we started LifePlugin, which was basically a gathering for friends. We said we are going to invite 50 of our friends for a weekend in Goa, and we are going to plan a 3-day agenda for them. So it was literally that it ended up being 30 of our friends and another 20 friends of friends who couldn't make it themselves but said, you should go. So that's what happened. And we had 50 people. And yeah, long story short, it's been 6 years now. We just started a momentum which caught on with people. And now our latest event was again held in Goa, which is our annual summit. We had 320 people attended. We had teachers from New Zealand, Costa Rica, UK, Ireland, come down to teach people over the course of three days, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and we have a lot of fun doing it. Because we have, for us, it's like a reunion with friends. It's one time a year that we tell all our friends that one, you should come to Goa. Who doesn't want to come to Goa? Second is that you should spend a weekend with us. And while we are doing that, we'll try and do something meaningful and fun, which is try new things like breath work, learn from new teachers about work-life balance, how to live your spirituality in the 21st century, biohacking, whatever interests you. So for us, LifePlugin Summit, as I describe it, is a 3-day event where it's like a buffet of personal growth topics. We're talking about anything and everything from, esoteric knowledge to science-backed research, which is now coming out around health, about your beliefs, your mental models, how paradigms are shifting in terms of how in modern society we are living our life and how we are struggling to keep up with it. So what are some ways to deal with it? So, and everything under the sun, like we do a small pop-up where we have workshops which include everything from harpe ceremonies to eye gazing to doing workshops with facilitators like art therapy and stuff like that. So there's a lot going on in those 3 days. But our idea is to make learning fun, because I feel like our educational systems have made learning very a drag. You say, yeah, you want to go to school, you want to go to college, you want to do this course. The initial feeling in your body is a little bit of it's not going to be fun. I'll have to be there. But our idea is to change that paradigm and make learning as a process massive amounts of fun, where you get excited because you get to do it with cool people, you get to do it in an experiential way, no one's just talking over your head, you get to do things, you get to experience them, you get to embody them, and then you walk away with a bunch of new that you can now call your best friends, and you do it while you're in Goa, while you're watching amazing sunsets, and you're working out in the palm trees in the morning, and yeah, you feel energized and empowered, and yeah, hopefully that momentum helps you then make changes in the areas that you want to make changes in. So that's the work I indulge in. That's where most of my time goes, and that's the work that we want to build upon, and then we can get into more about the other kind of work that we do. But yeah, that's LifePlugin Summit that most people know us by. So that's us.
Excellent. You have to tell us. I attended one LifePlugin Summit in March, April of 2018 in Shimla, right?
Mhm.
And that again, was my second or third meeting with Siddhant. First time we met in Delhi, and then we had, Amritsari Kulcha in Chandigarh, and the third time we were in Shimla in that event. How has the summit changed since 2018 to now, and how is this recent summit the grandest and the biggest of them all?
Yeah, I think a lot has changed. Like everyone who came to the first three, when I meet them, like, when I'm traveling anywhere, I keep bumping into people, I keep telling them things have changed. How have they changed? You came to our second event after the Goa event. That was like, I think our second event, we had 120 people come down to Shimla. I think that was in terms of running the 3-day agenda. The blueprint was pretty much the same, but we were still figuring out who are our top teachers, who can bring in those impactful experiences. And I think over the last 6 years we've sort of nailed that down. So teachers we found along the way were like people like Mike, who's a breathwork instructor. Right now he has become like a permanent resident teacher with us at LifePlugin Summit, because the power of breathwork is undeniable, right? Like for the people who don't know breathwork or don't haven't experienced it, it's basically someone teaching you a new way of breathing. All of us breathe on a daily basis, but turns out most of us do it wrong. And there are particular ways of breathing which get you in a very ecstatic state, in an altered state of mind. So people are having experiences as if they're on ecstasy or in a transcendental state, just by virtue of breathing a certain way for 30 minutes. And for a lot of people, it brings up different things. For a lot of people, it takes them back to like memories, some good, very lighthearted, some bad, some of tough times, some even of traumatic times. So it's a tool to release trauma, and what comes up for everyone and how the experience is very different. That's why you need a good team of facilitators and teachers who can then guide you while you're in it, deep. So that's become one of our main things that we've started, and you'll experience them at every LifePlugin Summit. I have a deep corner for doing production and making sure social spaces are also very fun, which is our evenings and mornings. So I think that has gotten a new taste. Now we bring in artists for our closing parties who do audio visual shows, put a night together for everyone after doing 2 days of waking up early and working out, right? The property now we have in South Goa is like very lucky to have it. It's no hotel by the beach in South Goa. It's quiet. It has the green lawns and the palm trees and the beach right there, right? Getting to Shimla was like a tough task, literally uphill task to get there, right? It challenged a lot of people. Yeah, now we have teachers who fly down from all over the world. Like we just had Wampa and Reagan. They are from Costa Rica and New Zealand. So they came down, they flew down from Dubai. They were on a tour. We have people like others like Marie and our trainers who came down from Bombay, Marie from UK, who teach there. So yeah, just because of our own network and our own growth in the last 5 years, we've managed to get more teachers to join us for this community and for this event. Over the last couple of years, we also had Ankur Bariku, Luke Coutinho, Goranga Das, all of these people come and speak at our events. So, that's the gradual increase in the kind of speakers we get, and it will only grow with time.
Excellent, excellent. So if I have to ask you a question, Siddhant, like since 2008, all right, how many youth have you impacted through workshops and small events and activities and get-togethers and of course LifePlugin summits? If you had to give it a number, I know you don't have to calculate anything, just take a guess.
This is like from with LifePlugin or like in general, like since our time, or it has to be more than 10, like thousands, more than 10,000, because I remember we were doing huge numbers when we were in ISEC. We were doing campaigns, working with students, colleges, universities, and the numbers were in 10,000s then. Like I remember making those lists and databases and sending it across to our sponsors and partners. So it's definitely 20,000 plus has to be easy. So yeah, and that's since 2008. So we've been doing this and indulging in this since, you can do the maths, but roughly 15 years. So yeah. So which then doesn't look like a big number. If you think about it, looks like 1,000 people a year, a little more.
The quantity is just one aspect of it, because I know you deliver quality and very, very personalized, because I've experienced it myself. Over the last 15 years, with those 20,000 odd people, young people, right? What are some of the challenges that you have seen amongst the youth that is being solved to a certain extent through experiential exercises like what LifePlugin does?
I think on the contrary, I think working with young people has been easier than older folks. And the response young people give is even like you do an activity with them, and their enthusiasm just shows through their eyes and the questions they ask, and how they want to still stick around and ask more questions and dig deeper. So I think that's a given. What I've noticed is anyone who is class 8, 9 onwards, that's like a good age for people to grasp concepts which might be complex to understand, right? Like they totally get it. They are curious to learn more, right? If you engage them in the right way, in a fun way, then they're all ears, right? Folks who are on the older side, when I say older, and I'm one of them now, like anyone who's 30 plus, there are certain mindsets, certain beliefs that we take on very strongly, and they're hard to argue for people. It takes a lot of time to just think over or beyond a certain mindset that someone has. So, but at the same time, yeah, there are people who again are very curious, are very open, come with an open mind. So it definitely helps. But yeah, working with young people has definitely been more easier. Then is, I think, you asked me like what is the challenges that young people tend to, was that the
Yeah.
question? Yeah.
Essentially, what I want to know is like why or what are the reasons that these experiential activities and these exercises and these summits become so important for young people? What are some of the reasons?
Yeah, I think like to start with, I think everyone's a little bit lost, like, and this is a theme that carries on in life. Like people think you have it together at a certain age, you don't. Like you think your parents have it together, they don't. Like everyone seems to have a plan till like, something hits you in the face and you don't have a plan anymore. So I think it starts at a young age. It starts at 11, 12 when you don't even know med, non-med, arts, kya karna hai mere ko in life, right? Like starts there. That's when people start asking questions, That's the first time I think people literally go out to ask for help on where to go, what to do. Uh, I think it starts with that. Uh, and there is no easy answer, I think. And that was like one of the top things when you invited me for this task, was like for this talk. That was the first thing in my head, like that at when you're in college, let's say, or a high school or college, you are a little lost. No one knows where to go, what to do. But the only way to figure it out is that you have to try things. There is no set pattern, right? Like there are some people who have a very clear cut ke mere ko CA banna hai. I want to go into finance. I want to become, like whatever, X, Y, Z, right? Good for you. You will probably have some kind of people will give you some kind of a plan. Do this, then do that, and then you'll prepare yourself to give this exam and then clear that and go on. Great. But I think some of those people also end up finding themselves into trouble because they realize, because they decided too early without having to try anything out, that I want to become this. And when they do end up becoming that doctor or that financial, they realize that life, what they thought would be, is not how they imagine it to be right now. They thought they'll become a finance guy and they are done. Like they'll make lots of money, they'll drive in a fancy car. But what they didn't realize that this job will suck all the hours out of your life and you will have no free hours. That's why it's called a compensation, because they're compensating for the life that they're going to take away from you. Right now, some people really want to play that game, right? Good for you. But you need to know before you get into the game what's the ins and outs, what are the pros and cons, right? So a small percentage might end up in a difficult situation because they've just, yeah, like committed to something without having to try everything out, right? For people who try everything out, I think they will, just by sheer process of elimination, they'll figure it out with time, like that there are certain things that energize them, there are certain things that feel like a drag. And I think the North Star is finding things that energize you, right? And the yeah, like the best thing would be that with time you can pick one thing that you think you can do for the next 3 to 5 years. I think people also put a lot of pressure on themselves by saying, I'm going to figure that one thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I think that is also a trap. Like there is no one doing that, right? Like there are people doing that, but I think for a young person to put all that pressure on yourself when you're like 20, 25, I think that's unnecessary pressure. Like pressure is good when it's applied to a certain degree where stretches you. But if too much pressure is just going to pin you down, it's not going to take you anywhere, right? Like, so I think a commitment of anywhere from, yeah, on an average, I think 3 years is a good kind of commitment. Like if you're not committing to anything for a year, I think that's a sign of you quitting too early, you trying to avoid like doing hard things. That's how I view it, right? If you can't even commit to anything that you want to really do and figure out, and you can't do it for a year, then there is something else up. And that's a different conversation we need to have. But if you can commit to things for 1 to 3 years and then take a step back and say, this is what I like, this is what I didn't like, maybe I want to try a hand at this, maybe I want to like, scrap this direction altogether, maybe I want to change lanes, great time to do that. So, and like all of us have done it, I have done it, where I did certain things for like, a year. Then I said, I'm over this. I want to try a hand at something else, like marketing. Then I did that. Then I said, okay, maybe I want to handle the press. Maybe I want to do online marketing, like it was still marketing, but I was jumping around trying different things. And then I said, okay, online marketing is something I like, because I'm a lazy guy. I don't want to be running around. I want to do stuff online, automate it so that it runs and it does things while I sleep. That was my rational in my head. This is what I'm going to do. But before that, I tried a bunch of things, right? Like I was in high school, I was part of a team. We used to travel as a team of gaming community. I thought I could, as a profession, develop games, right? So I signed up for a course where they would teach you coding and teach you how to make a game. And as soon as I reached my first coding lesson, I was like, this is not me, right? Like I love playing games, and I thought playing games might make me help make games. That's not true, right?
Okay.
So I made that mistake, and then I took a step back. I was like, this is not the lane I want to go, because coding is just, this is not happening. But management and running teams and developing leaders and making a plan and getting sponsors, all of that, management, this I like. But I was learning that by doing it while I was in ISEC. So, I had these two parallel lives, one at college and one hands-on experience. And it was very clear to me really fast that, okay, I like this one, not this one. So I'm going to drop this one. And what I did, and I don't recommend this to everyone, but I did lie to my parents that I'm going to college. And then I made a story where I'm, like failing my exam. So I need to spend more years in college while I was doing full-time ISEC for 5 years. So I had a 3-year degree. For 2 years, I just had to lie to them that, like I am failing. I am one of those that you hear about, supplees. I have got a lot of those. And then I did ISEC for 5 years. And by the end of it, parents wanted a job. So I found a job, in Malaysia. And that was the end of that conversation. I was like, college was supposed to get me a job. I already have a job. What is the point of this? Like this was a means to an end. I've got to the end. How does it matter how we get there, right? So, which is another thing. I think people will always, and in a good way, people will always try to guide you and give you ideas. But I think the best would be that you come up with your own ideas and pursue them. I think that in general, as a trait, will just help you as an individual, like in life, because if you're always dependent on someone else's solution and trying those out, yeah, you should do that too. But I don't think that should be the main plan. The main plan should be, as Al Pacino says, listen to everyone, but do what you like to do, like, something like that. So I think that
This is
should
a
be
very
a plan.
interesting things. Like you talked about, having your own plan, listen to everyone, but
Yeah.
ultimately do your own thing. This is great advice. A lot of big and experienced people like Al Pacino have said these things. So do you think that Life Plugin that way helps you get into that reflective, introspective mode to understand these things better through various modalities, whether it is breath exercises or biohacking or personal accountability? That is the personal accountability was one of my favorite exercises in Shimla in 2018. So do you think that that is something that Life Plugin Summits essentially do?
I think the goal of LifePlugin Summit is to, for us, it's very clear, is to have a community of people who are interested in their personal growth. Now personal growth is a vague term which could mean anything for anyone. For someone, personal growth right now might mean I need to figure out my career path. For
Hmm.
someone, personal growth right now is could be that I need to fix my finances in life. Right. For personal growth for someone right now is that my self-worth and my self-esteem is shit. Or let me take a step back, they don't even know it's shit. And that's what's getting in the way of life, of them asking for a raise, for them applying to jobs that they want to because they don't think they deserve it, like those subtle unconscious things. So Life Plugin for us, Life Plugin Summit specifically for us, is to have a community of people who are interested in this, and they can indulge in different topics: health, body, mind, soul, spirit, and figure out that where am I, let's say on a scale of 1 to 10 in each of these domains, which one of these is the most important to me right now? Because, like every
All of
six
these
months,
domains are important, right? All of
sorry?
these domains are important.
Yeah, like all of them are important because you need to have a like a good body as a vehicle to carry you around, to give you more energy, more vitality, right? Then you need to also have a sharp mind and a calm mind at the same time to tackle with everything that life throws at you, right? So you also need to be very in alignment with what you want to do, which is be a little in touch with your spirit on, like what really puts the fire in me to do things and to pursue things. What are my values, right? What are my values to start with? And then what are the choices I'm making in alignment with these, because they will make me happy and fulfilled rather than anything else, right? Like all of these things. So yeah, it's a buffet of different topics where you can indulge in all of these. And then we also on the last day help people sort of like zero down that we've talked about a lot of things. We touched on a lot of different topics, but you can't do everything at the same time. You can do everything, but not at the same time. So you got to pick like one or two things which will actually make the biggest dent, you know, to your journey right now. Because, two people could be the same age, could be in the same college, could be in the same class, but could have very different priorities at the same time. For someone like, their family might be going through something really hard. Someone just lost a parent. For them, this might not be the best time for them to be away from home and, go to a college outside of the country. They probably want to spend that time, or at least for the next year, to be at home. They'll not, they wouldn't pursue career right now. But after a year, when things have settled down, they have a new normal, maybe then they might want to take that step. So, depends on your situation, your life, where it is, how it is. It's going to be a different priority. And only you can decide that. No one else can decide that this year you are 21, so this should be your priority. Nobody, you decide what's your priority.
So when you're asking a young person in a country like India to decide these things, and Ritisha, you might pitch in over here, I guess, that invites a lot of scrutiny and criticism and just general taboo from the most important people in your life, right, Ritisha? I mean, you want to add to that?
Absolutely. And then people, it's looked down upon in the sense that if you want to be someone who tries out things and then eliminates and then gets to a conclusion that, okay, this is something I've tried 10 things, and out of that, I only like one. And people don't accept it. Like they feel, since you're like 5, you should know what you want to be, and they ask you every time on every birthday you get this question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And every year it changes. In fact, every 2 months it changes. So it's not something that can be very rigid at this young age when you don't actually have experience. So that becomes a taboo. Yes.
No,
And
I agree.
Hard to.
It's not easy to have that answer, you know. And I think that's why dealing with these, I think it's an environment thing, like what you're mentioning to me is like parents, neighbors, friends of parents, birthday party folks. It's just your environment. Your environment is always poking you to get an answer from you about, do you know what you're up to? Do you know what you're doing? You know? And yeah, I think environment plays a big part. As they say, you're the average of the 5 people you hang around with. I think yeah, it's one of the most important things to take care of. But if you can't find I think there are a couple of ways to go around it. Now that you wrote solutions, it's just, coming, talking to me. My solution to this was to keep people in the dark about this, which I don't recommend. Again, disclaimer, I don't recommend this to people. But I think essentially what people are trying to look, or even your parents, when I say people, your parents or everyone, what they're trying to seek or figure out is, do you really know what you're doing? Okay. My parents took a backseat when I was in ISEC, we were doing events, and they saw coverage in the news. They saw us in the news. They saw our names in the news. So they sort of, they didn't say anything to me, but they slowly let go of the restrictions they had on us. Me being out till late and like, having these meetings and having international stay at home, because they figured कि कुछ तो सही कर रहे हैं. We don't know what it is, but कुछ तो सही है. News में नाम आ रहा है, these, like, my parents couldn't imagine themselves in the news. Like, what have we ever done to be in the news? But these 23-year-olds are in the news, sometimes front page, last page of the local news, like this, that. So they saw that evidence, and I only got to know about this like years after I left. When my mom would talk to someone else in the living room, and then I got to know, acha, that's why you were so relaxed on us, because you got your clues, right? And people will get these clues in even in your answers. They don't necessarily have to see you in news, but it's how you talk to people. If you're confident about what you're doing and how you're doing it, people will back off. It's just how you talk. Like a small example of this is like, like especially at an age of 30, like you go to parties and people will say, oh look, come have a drink, and you tell someone like, no, no, I'm not drinking, I'm trying not to drink. This trying not to drink or I am not drinking, there's a certain tonality, there's a way you say it, and people receive it. And then someone will say, no, I don't drink. That puts people like a step back. Sorry, I asked, do you not drink in general, or are you not drinking now? Like, it's just the way you say things, which is not something which is planned. It's just a natural of who you are, kind of a thing. For someone who is trying not to drink, will probably end up drinking that night. For someone who I do not drink, will not drink that night. It's just who you are. So I think what people are trying to do by catching you at these birthday parties and get together is just poke you a little bit to see what comes out. Do you really know what you're doing, or do you not know? And if someone is, I think people take that as a clue, that that's the subtle conversation which is happening without actually happening. They're asking you about college last year, to aapka ye plan tha, is year ye ho gaya. They're just throwing those like curveballs at you to see like, okay, show me what you have, right? And if you have really clear cut answers, they'll see the clarity in your answers, and they'll probably side with you. So yeah.
Siddhant, like my parents still don't completely understand what I do. Do your parents understand what you do?
For me, I just had my mom come to one of our summits in Nepal, which we did in April in Kathmandu. I think that's when she was a participant. I saw her, be that curious child, be part of every session. I saw her, yeah, getting emotional in some of the sessions and stuff. And I think then she totally got it. I think there's another part of my life, which is, marketing consultant and all of that. I still don't imagine them to understand any of it. But the summit, yes, I think now she does.
Excellent. Siddhant, I know you have prepared something special for us for this session. Those 5 things that you want to talk about. I think we should definitely start with that. How do you want us to begin that? And please let me know if I'm writing something which is not entirely correct as per your interpretation of it.
No, I like when you invited me for the talk and you talked about like the people we are talking to, which is, young people. I was just thinking, what are the kind of things that sort of worked for me and, friends like me who are very content and happy with what they are doing and how they got there, even though it wasn't a simple path, And I was just looking back on like, what are those 3 to 4 things which would get, let's say, anyone who's in college or right out of college, the biggest return, if, and these are not just like anything in particular, like, go work out every day. Like that's a very specific thing, but they're a little more generic because you have to, because like, yeah, like my overall shabil is that you need to figure out your own path, right? Like, so I think the first part we already talked about, which is trying things, right? Trying things and figuring out what like sort of uh puts the fire in you, gets you excited, right? I think that's the first part. The second part is while you're trying to do things and figure out what you want to do, because I think that's a very vocational thing. What do you want to do in life? You want to keep yourself busy, you want to earn money. It's a very important part. Almost in India, in Asia, becomes 80% of your life, because in Asia it defines your status, it defines how people see you, it defines a lot of things for you. It is not the same when you go to Europe. You can go to Europe, no one gives a dash about what you do. If you're a cool person, you're a cool person. If you're a kind person, you're a kind person. That's how they roll. So a lot of people who are wrapped up in defining themselves by what they do can then I don't know, get married, get placed in a company, get like, relocation, and then end up in like a place like Europe. And all of a sudden, everything that you boasted yourself on, your self-confidence, your self-esteem, doesn't work anymore. Because it's a different world, it's a different culture. How they view things and how they measure things is very different, right? There, it's all about quality of life, right? People want to see you be healthy, you go out, catch the sun, not see the sun for 6 months. So, all of these mental models of the world sort of go whack. So, I know while you're in India and while you're growing up, it's very important to cater to this part first, But I've realized a little late in life, but still early in life, that that is not all, right? Like, that's not how the whole world works. It's very different on where you are. For Asians, this is very true, and it has different factors. In Europe, you have good system that supports you. Even if you are not employed, you'll still get supported by the system. In India, that's not the case. The system exists, but it's not necessarily to help you. It pretends to help you, but it doesn't really come through, So it's sort of like you're on your own, figure it out, right? And that's why we have this. That's why Indians sort of just excel all over the world. Top CEOs in the US right now, Indians, because it's just the built-in culture. Like, competition is there from day one. When you have 62 students in class and it's just a nursery class, so it starts there. So which works for us, as Indians, it works for us. So try things. I think the second part is, while you're trying things, also try to figure yourself out, right? A lot of habits, traits, beliefs that we have in our 20s are not really our own. I think even like in life in general, most of the beliefs that we have are not our own. They are absorbed by the environment we are in, right? And that's why, like, there was some study done around, uh, people and, how successful they are depending on their pin code, right? And which was sort of saying that, people in better off neighborhoods do better because their beliefs around life are very different to the beliefs of someone living in a pin code which is slum dweller and, or like in a poverty ridden area, right? It's sheer environment playing on you, right? On how you see life, how you talk, how you absorb on how to be, right? That's why they say always have, you're the average of the 5 people that you stick around with. So if you want to level up on life, you need to let go of the friends or family members or acquaintances or people you surround yourself with, which do not match to the level you want to, level up to, right? In business, in life, in general. If you're looking for a Shanti life, Zen life, away from the materialistic goods, you got to surround yourself with people who are very at ease with that kind of a life. If you want to be, big baller, like make lots amount of money, have a great impact on life, have that worldview, you got to hang out with those people. If you hang out with negative people, you go down that route, right? So figure yourself out. I think it's a ever evolving game. Every 5 years, there's a new Siddhant. Every, 5 years, there's a new Saurabh. So it's a constant evolution of things. There's this quote which I really like, which says, "You are not what you think you are. You are not what others think you are, but you are what you think others think you are." Right? Which, if you take time to really let that sink in, is that it's very interesting to figure out who you really are, right?
Mm.
Because there are three very different lenses at play. Which one of them is more true or right is what I mean by figuring out yourself, And someone on the contrary said, like, you are not you are not what you think you are, but you think you are what you think you are, right? So yeah, this is like all very getting very philosophical and like, meta in conversation, but this is also a ever evolving parallel game of figuring yourself out. Like, what do I really want? What do I really cherish? What's the kind of life do I really want to build for myself? I remember, like, before COVID, I think 4 years before COVID, was a time when I just had let I had just left a job and I was equally confused. Just like, I think confusion also becomes very hard when you have too many options. When you only have two options, you just got to pick one of them. Easy. But when you have the world open to you, which is the case with young people, you can be an IS officer, you could be a financial guy, you could start an NGO, like the world is open. It's even more hard to figure out where to go. And I just ended a job, and I figured that it's hard because I can do anything. I can start influencer marketing agency. I can be, like I can join a company. I can apply to Google. The world is open, and that's my problem because I have too many options, and you would never figure that having too many options is also a bigger problem, right? So that happened. And yeah, having I've just lost my chain of thought. Having too many options, but like what helped me in that time was I came back to like, okay, I do want to work. I do want to make big money. I still want to align and do something with it. At that time, my interest was influencer marketing. So I was looking for co-founders, for that. I didn't find a co-founder, but I found a person who had just, exited from his first startup and was starting a new one in influencer marketing. So he said, why don't you join me? I've already started this, but if you want to join me, that will be great. So that's how it sort of happened. And after a year, I realized, what? All this corporate agency life is not for me. I would want something which is less stressful. I could work on my own hours, and I could be remote, which made me end up becoming remote. I started getting gigs, and it's been close to 7 years now that I have had a remote lifestyle. And when COVID happened, and I was like, shit, now everyone's remote. I worked so hard to do this. But yeah, like, so I think figuring out what kind of lifestyle you want. And for me, it was very clear that I want to be, remote. I want to work from a laptop, and I want to work on my own hours so that I can do whatever. Right. And it's a funny way when you define these things or draw it or have a very clear picture in your head, it happens. How part is a mysterious part, how it happens, but it happens. So I think it's just figuring out what kind of life you want. And that then is, yeah, I think we already talked about you're constantly evolving as a person, right? Which goes hand in hand with figuring yourself out. Times change, a decade changes. Sorry? Evolution, like you're constantly evolving, like your evolution. So someone said this, people die at 25 and are not buried till 80, right? Like, so if you are not constantly evolving as a person, and your interests will change, like, so if you pick onto one thing and say this is all I want to do, and don't give yourself that chance to really change course, change tracks, uh, then you're just restricting yourself from everything you could do, you know and there are great examples of this, army officers joining MNCs and carrying on that work, and works wonderfully well, right? These kind of examples are all everywhere, and it's actually now looked upon as something which is very important to have in leaders at important positions. They can always use the same skill set or traits they have in multiple domains just because they are great at them, right? So I think it's all about building those skills and using them in different ways, but you're constantly evolving. So give yourself that gift of having to change. You could be someone who was, very artistic for 3 years and then decided to go, analytical or like howsoever you like, up to you. Then, and I think the fourth point was, I think everything in life comes from the people around you. Whether it be business happens through people. I think relationships is the biggest takeaway. Like, I've realized everything that has happened in my life has happened through relationships I had with people. All my job offers I've ever gotten, I've never given a single interview in life. Like, I have, but the fact that I got that interview was because someone recommended me to someone, right? I think that says a lot for itself. Like, I think relationships, how to nurture meaningful relationships, how to have mentors in life, how to uh, yeah give back to relationships, all of these things I think are very, very important, that are not taught to anyone, in a very structured way, right? These are things that humans are great at naturally, but I think it's not given as much limelight as it should. The quality of life, I think, relies on your quality of relationships, one with yourself and then with others. So I think you need to be first very calm and loving to yourself, and then the same to others. And it's not like an equation that I can put down, but it does give back in great ways, right? So learn to, nurture relationships. And yeah, it's like a plant. You need to water it time to time. And some of them you won't water and they will die, and which is great. It's a process, humans live and die. It's a thing, it's a process, it has its own importance. We are not there to see it. Some of us can't, but it's a natural process. It's okay, for some of those relationships to die. uh yeah, I think those were my, like, that's what I could think of, something that's helped me dearly. Apart from that, yeah, I think in your 20s be experimental, like, yeah, just like be experimental, like don't restrict yourself. Also, it's 2023. No one will ever understand the decisions you're making, because the world that you're making these decisions in is not the same as anyone else's, right? Like, things have changed, how jobs happened has changed, what was considered safe has changed, the world we live in, the financial times, it's too much to understand at the same time. But yeah, constant, like, I think be experimental, take risks. This is one that I am now trying to work on right now, like as of today. This is the theme for the next 3 to 4 months. Someone told me, I think your life on paper is pretty sorted and you're playing it safe. I think you should take a panga in life. And that stuck with me. I was like, that is true. Everything that I'm doing is like a check, 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 family check, have a business running, making decent money, in a relationship. Everything's fine. And when you're fine, you get comfortable, like, and I think that's the zone I'm slowly getting in, and I need to make myself uncomfortable. I think the entrepreneurial journey does do a little bit, but I think I can do with a little more. So I think, yeah, take risks, write to people that you are intimidated to write to, reach out to that person, uh, talk to that girl at the bar that you always wanted to talk to, or at college, like, take risk. I think it's a different kind of appetite that you need to build within yourself. And once you get onto the other side of taking risks and winning, I think it makes you a very different kind of a person in life in general. And again, it's a skill. And if you develop this skill, you can apply it in every domain in life. And I think that's the most beautiful thing. That's the most amazing thing. That if you can just, somehow do it in a fun way, in a playful way, and, get yourself to do those things, then yeah, the opportunity of how you can potentially bring that in is, limitless. It's like, yeah, limitless.
Siddhant, in our last conversations, a podcast on such conversations matter. And by the way, for those who are watching this and don't know about Such Conversations Matter, this is another initiative under that same banner, Such Conversations Matter. And we discussed, and you gave, the essence of the entire conversation. I mean, there were so many wonderful things that we discussed, right, everywhere, and it was such a free-flowing, natural conversation, just like this one. You said there are no rules. Please expand on that.
Yeah, I think everyone, like just like how I gave you a list of like these 5 things, everyone likes to give like a 5 pointer, the 7-step process to financial freedom, the 8-step process to this and that. I think those are just people who are sharing their own process with you. There is no 7-step process to financial freedom. It's just their process, right? Which they're sharing with you, which might be a guiding light for some people who have no idea how to go about it. But I actually believe there are no rules. Like, there was no rule to lie to your parents for 5 years and like develop character in, like, meanwhile, like there is no rule like that. But somehow like it happened for me and it worked well. For some people, it will be work hard, but some people will say, no, that's bullshit. Like, just work smart, like that's not it. So you can make any statement come true and make it the guiding light or the North Star. But I actually believe there are no rules. There is no rule to do a startup a certain way. There is no rule to do a startup at a certain age. There is no rule to jump into a career or pick a career at a certain age. There is no rule about when to settle down, when not to settle down. There are no rules. Society has these unsaid rules, which is comes in the form of peer pressure, just because society, right? Like, because they want to see you in a certain way, which is the part that, what they think you are, like that's that part, properly. And so there are no rules. Like, you can start up whenever, you can make $1 million at whatever age. There are no rules. It's just that you have to figure out whatever is your itch. And I think when people start doing that, then amazing things happen. And those things are a byproduct, but people take those things. Oh, this guy, he's 21 and he got like 10 million in funding. That was a byproduct of him wanting to really do something that came to him as interesting, and he pursued that. This funding is a byproduct, but people have made this funding as the main thing, that getting funding and 10 million funding is the goal. I can guarantee you now that if I could get people 10 million funding by just snapping my fingers, you know it won't be fun for anyone, because now that guy has a pressure of making this 10 million work, million, billion, whatever, work, which is not fun. But for someone who just has fun doing it every day, it doesn't matter if he's getting the funding or not, he'll still do it because he's having fun. So, like, and this is just like, again, environment, media we consume on a daily basis, what works, what gets attention. A lot of these influences on a daily basis, with things like this. You can't see it, but it's my phone. I'm glad you can't see it. You should also not see it as much. But these are all like environments that influence us on a daily basis. And these are voices we need to keep out and curate voices that we really want to listen to, which is, those relationships, those mentors, those kind of voices. So there are no rules. You make your own rules. Just my advice or my wish for you is to make those rules morally correct to you, because that is something people will question you on. Are these ethical decisions, are they morally correct? I think that's a longer conversation. We can't all agree on what is morally correct or ethically right. But yeah, I hope you don't rub off on people the wrong way, or don't steal from people on your way up, because that will also catch up with you, in good time. So, but otherwise, there are no rules. Like, make your own rules, follow your own itch, make sure you are happy, because everyone wants to be happy. But then they forget that now they're doing things which don't make them happy. But then how will this ever work out? So yeah, Gary Vee says this. He's like, everyone wants to make 1 million, but there's this guy who's making 60K a year, but he's doing the thing that he really likes. And that's why he's way more happier than anyone else who's making 1 million right now, because they're all making 1 million, but they're all doing things that they don't want to do. So then what's the point of it all, right? I would rather be the guy who's with the 60K making 40% less, but making a little less, but still more happy and fulfilled, and has all the time to give to his family, his relationships, his loved ones, all of that.
Awesome. Ritisha, you want to ask something?
I think it's a holistic discussion that we had, and all of my questions were answered before I could ask them. So
Excellent. Siddhant, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You share things with such a unique perspective, and you keep adding so many other aspects to it, from data to quotes and your own lived experiences, right? It's always so much fun talking to you and listening to you. I mean, I hardly didn't even realize that, we're almost 1 hour is completely over. I mean, I don't know about you, but we thoroughly enjoyed that. Every second was captivating. Anything else that you would like to add And of course, everyone who's listening to this, we are going to share Sid's details and LifePlugin's details, so you can reach out to him. Obviously, don't spam him, but we're going to share his LinkedIn details with you. If you have any questions, definitely reach out to him later as well. But Sid, anything else that you would like to add?
No, I think the only thing I would say to young people is everyone wants to be you right now. If you ask anyone who's like 30 plus, they all want to go back to being 18 and 20 and doing it all over again. You have the opportunity to do it for yourself. And, if you do well for yourself, you'll do well for everyone around you. So, yeah, just like make sure that you have fun and you don't let life sort of like, make your colors go black and white, live your colors in HD and have fun while you do it, because everyone wants to be you. Just know that, the 80-year billionaire, he wants to give up his money and be you right now, right? Like if you go ask him, yeah, he wants his youth back and you are there. So have fun and you guys define the next 3 decades for everyone. You're the people who are going to go into policy making, climate change activists, how the world shapes up. So no pressure, you do you. But yeah, we are all looking forward to how the next couple of, decades unfold and young people take up the fights they take up. So I wish you well.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, guys, here you have it. Siddhant, he's a gem of a person. And we request you to definitely check out the work that he's doing as part of LifePlugin and also other things that he does. And if you have any questions, do reach out to him. If you have any feedback for us, how can we make these sessions better? If you want Sid to come back on the platform, what would you like to ask him or something else? Please feel free to share all of those things. We love looking forward to your feedback. Thank you so much. And happy Diwali, all of you who celebrate Diwali, and happy holidays to everyone, because generally in the Northern Hemisphere, we have the holiday season going on. And take care.